I knew it was over the moment Trevor Moss didn't make eye contact. That smug little MBA spawn, fresh off some LinkedIn certified ego trip, sat across from me like I was a quarterly expense report that needed trimming. He smelled like citrus body spray and ambition, and his first words weren't hello or thanks for your service, but let's talk about alignment. Alignment. It spent 25 years at Cardinal Systems writing the very code that made their product worth a damn. And now I was being aligned right out the damn door. He flipped open my review folder like it was a diner menu and said, "Look, Vanessa, you've done good work. Really, but you've been here a long time. We need people who are agile, adaptable. If you're not happy," he smiled, that reptile kind of smile that never touches the eyes, the door is right there. It wasn't rage, wasn't sadness. What I felt was a sort of bone-deep stillness. I looked at the team photo on my desk. 3 of those engineers I'd hired straight out of college. I remembered staying late with them through system crashes and botched updates, running on vending machine coffee and microwave popcorn. I remembered missing my sister's wedding because our load balancer failed mid-deployment. I remembered fighting for them when upper management wanted to outsource. Now this child was handing me a metaphorical participation trophy and a real termination folder. So I closed my laptop. No drama, no tears. I stood up, tucked the folder under my arm, and walked out. Past my team, past the glassy conference room full of people pretending not to notice. Past the same HR woman who'd once asked me to mentor her niece. No one said a word. That kind of silence has gravity to it, drags everything down with it. Respect, loyalty, history. But here's the part no one talks about. Sometimes silence is strategy. Before I go on real quick, if you've been listening this far, maybe hit that follow button and toss a like if you've ever been blindsided by someone who thinks synergy is a leadership skill. It seriously helps our team out. And hey, let's be real. 90% of you ghosts listening never hit subscribe. You know who you are. Anyway, I didn't go home right away. I went to the diner down the street, got myself a black coffee and a side of quiet. I sat in that red vinyl booth and just breathed. Not cried, not raged, just breathed. I didn't need to scream into the void. I was the void now. Cardinal had been my whole life. I joined when we were still operating out of a second-story office above a pawn shop. I'd watched us grow from a clunky prototype to a $550 million juggernaut. And all of it, the infrastructure, the architecture, the goddamn core logic had my fingerprints in the foundation. I didn't document everything, not in the way of fresh-faced dev might. No, I lived that code. It wasn't in a manual, it was in my bloodstream. I paid the bill in cash, walked 2 blocks in the wrong direction just to clear my head. Then I caught a taxi. Not an Uber, not a rideshare, a damn yellow cab like I used to take back in the early days when Cardinal couldn't afford coffee that didn't come in foil packets. Home smelled like lavender and old books. I set the folder on my dining table, poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, and opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Buried beneath tax returns and expired coupons was a slim brown envelope. No label, just the weight of insurance policies and foresight. Inside it was the original provisional patent application. My name at the top, not Cardinal's, mine, filed in 2007 during one of the company's many chaotic reshuffles when legal was more focused on keeping a solvent than minding the IP register. I'd been advised by someone much smarter than me, God bless him, to hold the provisional rights until things settled, and they never settled. Cardinal had been licensing my core framework the entire time. Lawyers had drafted agreements, temporary ones with expiration clauses with one very specific condition buried in the legal ease like a landmine. In the event of involuntary termination without cause, reversion of rights shall trigger automatically within 24 hours. Signed, stamped, filed, and nobody ever followed up because nobody thought I would ever leave. Guess what, Trevor? You just pulled the pin. The taxi driver didn't say a word when I got in. Thank God. Just nodded and tapped the meter, the soft glow of it lighting up the tired lines in my face. I stared out the window while downtown Denver rolled past like some overpriced snow globe. Glass buildings full of men like Trevor who'd never built a damn thing in their lives, but still talked about innovation like it was a Tex perfume they could spray on themselves before meetings. My phone buzzed for the 8th time. Another Slack message. I didn't look. Co-workers trying to play Switzerland. So sorry to hear, Vanessa. Please stay in touch. Or worse, HR sending exit survey links like I was going to rate my decapitation experience out of 5 stars. Let them stew. They'd all stood there and watched it happen like a corporate funeral where no one brings flowers. I got home and left everything by the door: coat, keys, laptop, even the folder. I didn't want any of it near me. My cat, Figs, linked at me from the couch like she knew something cosmic had shifted. I poured myself another bourbon and didn't sit. Couldn't. Not yet. I stood in the hallway for a good 5 minutes, staring at the closet I hadn't opened in over a decade. Top shelf. Old banker's box labeled old IP/archive/don't touch. Guess who touched? I sat cross-legged on the floor like I was back in college cramming for finals, hand sifting through brittle printouts and coffee-stained notebooks. My handwriting from 2006 looked like it belonged to another woman, one who hadn't yet learned how little gratitude the world had for quiet brilliance. Tabs and sticky notes fluttered out like moths from a tomb. Then I found it. Manila envelope, thick paper, crisp edge, still sealed at the flap with the original notary stamp. The date made my heart skip. July 12th, 2007. It had been filed under my name, not Cardinal's, not on behalf of mine. Back then, I was just trying to protect my work. We were a small team, and I didn't trust the startup chaos. A friend of mine, Arthur Pendleton, an old IP attorney who now raises alpaca somewhere in Oregon, told me, "Vanessa, file it under you. You can always assign it later once the company's stable." They never got stable. They just got greedy. Formal assignment of rights had always been in process. But nobody had followed up because no one really thought it mattered because I was never going anywhere. Right? I was the wallpaper, the loyal dog, the duct tape holding Cardinal together while every exec of me played musical chairs until one of them, Trevor, with the perfect teeth and garbage instincts, finally pulled the plug. I stood up, documents in hand, and walked to my desk like it was sacred ground. Opened the safe I hadn't touched in years. Had to try 3 codes before I remembered the damn thing and tucked the envelope inside. It wasn't vengeance. Not yet. It was preparation. I stared at the blinking cursor on my laptop for a while, then opened an encrypted email draft to Arthur. Subject line: "Need you to confirm a clause." I attached a scanned copy of the provisional filing. The fine print was almost poetic in its brutality. Should the inventor be terminated involuntarily and without cause, reversion of full ownership shall occur within 24 hours of official notice. I typed, "Still valid." I hit send. Then I sat there in the blue glow of my screen, bourbon sweating in my hand, Figs curled against my leg like a silent co-conspirator. The phone buzzed again, voicemail from Trevor of all people. I didn't listen. I didn't have to. Probably some sanitized corporate speak about handoff protocols or knowledge transitions. Too late. I walked to the window and watched the city blink beneath me. 25 years. 25 years of making other people look smarter than they were, of translating brilliance into digestible little chunks for men who wore suits like armor and used words like synergy and learnings. Well, lesson delivered, boys. This wasn't the part where I wept into a pint of ice cream or rage applied to competitor listings. This was the part where I remembered who I was. Not Vanessa from HR, not legacy overhead, not the woman they thought would go quietly. This was the part where stillness calcified into resolve, and they had no idea what was coming. Arthur called me back before sunrise, Oregon time. I picked up on the first ring. No pleasantries. "Does the clause still stand?" I asked. Didn't answer right away. I could hear the rustle of old pages, the soft clink of his reading glasses shifting as he scanned line by line. I imagined him sitting at his farmhouse kitchen table, legal pad in one hand, probably a half-eaten banana in the other. Same as always. The man could gut a billion-dollar deal before his second cup of coffee. Finally, he exhaled. "Yes," he said flatly. "And if they fired you yesterday, it triggered reversion the moment you walked out the door." I didn't speak. He added, "I mean, Jesus, Vanessa, you kept that clause." I didn't laugh. I didn't need to. Cardinal's core patent had just reverted to me automatically. I hung up without a goodbye. Not out of rudess, just efficiency. There was work to do now, and every second counted. That 24-hour window wasn't theoretical. It was real. By the time the digital clock on my microwave blinked 6:07 a.m., I was already logged into the USPTO ILing system. The reversion confirmation was a pre-written template, something Arthur and I had drafted years ago, just in case back when Cardinal was still calling itself Cardinal Tech and hosting all-hands meetings over Chinese takeout. I remember Arthur saying, "You probably won't ever need this. The world's built on the backs of women who assumed they wouldn't get screwed." God, I miss that sarcastic bastard. I opened the encrypted folder, double-checked the signature fields, and filled out the formal reversion notification. It wasn't dramatic. There was no dramatic legal letterhead or cease and desist fanfare. Just a quiet little checkbox next to involuntary termination without cause, followed by a digital timestamp, a few upload fields, and a verification click submit. And that was it. With that single click, ownership of Cardinal's crown jewel, the algorithm that powered their flagship, their licensing deals, their entire investor pitch deck, slid back into my hands. I didn't dance, didn't scream, I just leaned back in my chair, cradled my coffee, and let the silence wash over me like a second skin. The cat jumped onto the table and meowed, unimpressed by my newly required multi-million-dollar intellectual property. Figures. I checked the USPTO system. The update wouldn't be instant. It usually took a few hours to propagate publicly, but once it did, anyone doing a lookup on that patent ID would see a different owner. Not Cardinal Systems LLC, Vanessa L. Holt. There's a special kind of quiet that comes after you flip the power switch on a nuclear warhead and realize you're the only one who knows it's armed. That was me standing in my kitchen barefoot, watching the sunrise, holding a reversion clause like a loaded gun no one remembered I had. Across town, Cardinal's shiny new leadership team was probably sipping espresso, prepping for their 10 a.m. strategy huddle where they'd throw around words like scalability and synergistic integration. Meanwhile, the legal scaffolding holding up their empire had just vanished into thin air. I wasn't going to call them. I wasn't going to warn them. That was the old me. Loyal, predictable, forgiving, the one who gave them decades of service and assumed they'd do right by me in return. That version of Vanessa was done. By 7:03 a.m., my inbox pinged. Confirmation receipt from the USPTO. It was official. The patent. My patent was back where it belonged. And unless Cardinal had filed a completely new system architecture in the last 24 hours, which they hadn't, every line of code in their next G product was now trespassing on my legal property. I opened my laptop again and began drafting something far more interesting than a resume. Licensing terms. I wasn't just going to reclaim what was mine, I was going to make them pay for thinking I was disposable. Not loudly, not in court, not on Twitter, just with contracts, numbers, royalties, leverage. Because revenge in the digital age doesn't wear war paint, it wears a watermark. Trevor was in rare form that morning. At least that's what I heard. Word travels fast when you've spent 2.5 decades embedded in a place, especially when half the staff still thinks of you as the human firewall between their code and the inevitable executive brain fart. Apparently, Trevor kicked off the product strategy meeting like he was hosting a game show. Arms wide, teeth gleaming, dripping confidence like a used car salesman on a meth bender. He was talking agile pivots and Q4 dominance, said the next G update would blow our competitors out of the water. Every feature, every enhancement ran off the same algorithm I'd written in my basement during the Bush administration. You know, before we even had a server room, and not one person, not one in that room had thought to check the US filings that morning. I imagined them clustered around the digital whiteboard, dragging blocks labeled core engine and recommender module like toddlers playing with firecrackers. Trevor probably mentioned me once, if at all, maybe as legacy input or worse, the old system. By 11:30, my phone buzzed. Caller ID, Nina Rostova. Nina from Product, who used to sneak me Snickers during late-night crunches and once cried in my office because her code broke the sandbox environment 2 hours before a client demo. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hey Vanessa, her voice was cautious, like she was poking a bear from behind a fence. Just a heads up, moving your old code into the new build this week. Next G launch window got bumped up. Kind of weird without you here. I let that sit in the air like a rotten egg. Then I said, good luck with that. She paused. Wait, what? Click. Let them squirm. See, this was the part people never understood about me. I didn't scream, I didn't sue, I didn't write angry Glassdoor reviews or call their investors. I let the rope tighten on its own. And baby, it was tightening fast. By noon, Cardinal's legal inbox had already received the USPTO reversion notification. But here's the kicker, nobody read it. Because in companies like Cardinal, the legal team only checks what the executives tell them to check. And the executives. They were too busy high-fiving each other and dry humping the next investor pitch deck to realize the floor was about to drop out from under them. Trevor, meanwhile, strutted through the halls like a man who thought he'd slayed a dragon, not realizing the dragon had already filed a 26-page IP enforcement memo and was sipping bourbon by the fireplace. From what I heard later, he even made some crack in the break room about how clean the transition was. Something like, "She didn't even fight it, guess the game's changed." Yeah, Trevor, it sure has. They were days, maybe hours away from pushing a live demo that was 100% dependent on code they no longer legally had access to. Every commit, every push, every scheduled integration test was now a line item on my licensing ledger, and I wasn't charging friendship rates anymore. That afternoon, I started getting LinkedIn messages, little pings from engineers and analysts pretending to check in out of curiosity, but all of them danced around the same question: what happened? When Even said, "Trevor's saying you quit." Of course he is. Trevor's the type to gaslight a fire drill. I didn't reply to any of them, not yet. Let them stew. Let them feel that itch in the back of their brains, that creeping sensation that something was wrong off missing. That wasn't just their imagination. That was the algorithm they were trying to steal, screaming through every line of code. I don't belong to you. Later that night, I logged into the USO public access system again. There it was. Patent hash 79864-322. Status updated, owner Vanessa L. Holt. Date of reversion. Time-stamped to the minute of my termination. No red flags, no warnings, just a single name change that no one at Cardinal had bothered to notice yet. But the clock was ticking and the slow burn had begun. It started with a kid, one of those poor, over-ambitious summer interns Cardinal scoops up from overpriced colleges and feeds into the legal department like chum into shark-infested waters. His name was Leo, or maybe Caleb, doesn't matter. He was the kind of eager puppy who wore button-downs even on casual Fridays and highlighted documents in 3 colors, like that was going to save him from burnout. He was tasked with monitoring USTO activity for competitor filings. Innocent enough, just click around, look for anything weird, flag if necessary. A box to tick until he typed in Cardinal's own patent numbers and saw my name. I can only imagine the moment his mouth probably dried up. Highlighter froze mid-stroke. Maybe he thought he clicked the wrong link. Maybe he refreshed the page 3 times like a glitch would magically undo a corporate aneurysm, but the truth just sat there blinking on his screen. Inventor and owner Vanessa L. Holt, effective date 24 hours post-involuntary termination. He flagged it, emailed it to his supervisor with a little subject line like possible issue, which is corporate for I don't want to die for this legal. Read it, paused, probably reread it 5 times, then dug through their dusty agreement folder and found the clause, the one they'd filed and promptly forgotten, the one I'd slipped in like a silent tripwire 15 years ago. It was airtight. Cardinal's shiny $550 million core technology was now legally squatting on property they didn't own, and they'd already sent out invites for the public demo. Trevor, of course, handled it with all the nuance of YouTube prank bro caught shoplifting. I'm told he laughed when legal brought it to him. "Oh, it's probably a clerical glitch," he said. Clerical glitch like the USO just accidentally handed over the company's most valuable IP to the woman he fired 2 days ago. Then he doubled down, told legal to keep it quiet until after the demo, said they'd iron it out post-launch and accused the legal team of chasing ghosts. Ghosts? I'll be sure to etch that on his career's tombstone. Meanwhile, the product team kept working like everything was fine. They had no idea they were running daily builds, scheduling final QA, printing glossy materials with buzzwords like proprietary tech and patent-protected AI architecture, all of which now technically belong to me. They were building a house on land they didn't own. Every hour that passed tightened the rope because once you demo something publicly, once you claim it as your own under IP law, that's infringement. And infringement with knowledge, that's willful, which means triple damages. But Trevor didn't care or didn't understand or both. He was too busy updating his LinkedIn with phrases like driving product innovation and revolutionizing industry verticals. Smug little emojis #BlessedLegal quietly began drafting a worst-case risk memo. I know this because one of the junior attorneys forwarded it to a friend of mine who forwarded it to me. The subject line, "Patent reversion urgent." The memo itself was 3 pages long, but the last line said it all. Recommendation: postpone demo until IP ownership clarified. It was marked low visibility. Translation: don't let the board see this. Not yet, because that's what Trevor feared most. Not the law, not the consequences. The board. He hadn't told them I was gone, not officially. He buried it under a line item in the org chart update and phrased it like legacy realignment. He told them the next G system was ready, that everything was on schedule, that Cardinal was cruising, so they still didn't know, and the demo was 3 days away. Tick, tick, tick. The call came at 6:12 a.m. just as I was spooning coffee grounds into the filter, still half in yesterday's hoodie and the same leggings I'd been wearing since Tuesday. I knew that number by heart, though I hadn't seen it flash on my screen in nearly 5 years. Julian Vance, the founder, the Ghost and Cardinals machine. It stepped back a decade ago, retreating to some lakeside compound in Vermont with bad reception and better scotch. But Julian wasn't like the VCs or boardroom windbags who came after. He didn't care about buzzwords or sleek dashboards. He understood the guts of the thing, knew the difference between flash and fire, which made it all the more insulting that he let people like Trevor slither their way into the soul of what we built. I let it ring twice before I picked up. Vanessa, his voice still carried that slow thunder. Aged bourbon and disappointment wrapped in static. "Julian," I said, stirring my coffee. "Long time I just got an alert from USPTO, patent hash 79864-322. A pause. "It lists you as the owner." I said nothing, just waited. "Is this some mistake?" "No." Another beat. "That can't be. You assigned that to Cardinal." "No, Julian," I said calmly. "I didn't. He never filed the final transfer. Remember? I was told it would be formalized after Series A. Legal got shuffled, then shuffled again. It never got done." He went quiet. I could hear the soft sound of him breathing slower now, processing. "Vanessa, this is the core system." "I know." He finally asked it. "Why now?" I let the question settle between us like dust in a server room. Then I said, "Because your people terminated me without cause. Because the clause we wrote 15 years ago kicked in." He groaned low like an animal hit center mass. "That was never supposed to be permanent. I trusted your people would honor the deal." Silence. "They didn't." I said click. He hung up. I didn't expect an apology. I didn't want one. I just wanted him to understand. 10 minutes later, he was seen storming into Cardinal HQ. I got the play-by-play from 3 different people within the hour. One said he came through the front doors like a hurricane in leather loafers. No appointment, no entourage, just the founder. Face red, hair wild, waving a printed copy of the patent listing like it was a death certificate. He didn't go to Trevor's office first. He went to Legal Smart. Julian wasn't the type to scream, but his presence was loud enough. Intern who first spotted the reversion said Julian stood in front of the GC's desk and asked one question. "Did we ever formalize the IP transfer for Holt's algorithm?" And when the answer came back, stammered incomplete, laced with half-assed excuses, he closed his eyes and muttered, "Jesus Christ." Then he did go to Trevor's office, and that I'm told was not quiet. The hallway outside conference room be reportedly emptied within seconds. Witnesses claim Trevor started his usual spiel, "We're on track." This is just noise. Legal's got it, but Julian didn't let him finish. He slammed the patent print out onto the glass table and said loud enough for the admin staff to hear from 20 feet away, "She owns the oxygen you're breathing." Trevor mumbled something about internal realignments and miscommunications, but Julian wasn't there for spin. He was there for truth. And the truth was, Cardinal Systems, this company he had bled for, built from nothing but circuit boards and ramen noodles, was about to go live with a product they no longer had the right to use, a product based on my code, on my idea. And the woman behind that idea was no longer in the building, was no longer on the payroll, was no longer interested in playing nice. Later that evening, I sat on my porch, bourbon in hand, watching the sun bleed into the horizon like an old wound. My phone stayed quiet, not because they weren't trying. Trevor had called 3 times, Legal twice. Even Nina had sent a DM with just a sad face emoji and a "Hey, you okay?" But I didn't answer. Let them sweat. Let Julian decide how much of his company he was willing to lose before he acknowledged the one truth no one in that building wanted to say out loud. They didn't fire an employee. They evicted the architect. And now the foundation was gone. Demo day landed like a meteor. Cardinal's downtown Denver auditorium had been scrubbed spotless for the occasion. Brushed concrete, sterile spotlights, a 30-foot LED wall flashing the words "Next is now." Rows of plush seats were filled with venture partners, existing clients, government liaison, every last person whose signature or checkbook mattered. Trevor stood backstage in a navy suit 2 sizes too confident. He was smiling, joking with the CTO doing that thing men like him do where they believe charisma can outpace competence. And for a minute, it looked like it might. The intro video played glossy stock footage of robotic arms, skyscrapers, diverse workers smiling into touchscreens. The audience applauded politely. Trevor adjusted his mic, walked to center stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice syrupy with self-satisfaction. "What you're about to see is the future of predictive systems platform that will change how our clients, how the world approaches adaptive infrastructure." He gestured to the screen behind him where the product UI loaded up. Sleek, familiar, mine. "In the next 10 minutes," he said, "we'll walk you through our most advanced iteration yet, powered by our proprietary engine, developed right here at Cardinal." That's when legal moved. Not fast, not panicked, just silent. A tall, gray-haired woman in a blazer 3 shades too dark to be accidental. She stepped onto the stage from the wing and leaned in her mouth close to Trevor's ear. "I wasn't there, but I know what was said. We can't demo that system. We don't own the patent anymore." Trevor blinked, laughed too loud. "Excuse me, small technical hiccup," he told the crowd. "Give us just a moment." He stepped aside with legal. The mic was still on. The whole front row heard him whisper, "What are you talking about? We've always owned that code." "No, Trevor," she replied. "You never did. Vanessa Holt owns the IP. The reversion is final. It's logged. It's live. If we demo this, we're in willful infringement territory." The blood left Trevor's face like it was called home. A handful of whispers started in the back. Phones lit up. 2 people near the investor section pulled up the USPTO site right there in their laps. Patent hash 798643222. Click, scroll, read. Owner Vanessa L. Holt. Date updated 3 days ago. The demo feed on the giant screen froze. The placeholder UI hovered there like an open secret. The whole room waited. The silence thickened into something jagged. From the very back, Julian Vance stood. No words, no motion, just his presence, watching, arms crossed, his expression unreadable, not surprised. On stage, Trevor cleared his throat. It appears we'll need to postpone our demonstration of the core system," he said, fumbling for the right lie. "Due to, unexpected legal review and an asset verification." No one applauded. The CTO looked like he wanted to crawl into the floor. Legal stood at a perfect neutral attention beside Trevor, arms folded, unblinking, unbothered. Then it happened. An investor, a woman from Draper something, stood up. She held up a sheet of paper. Vanessa L. Holt's name printed in bold. "I believe this is the patent registration," she said. "The one referenced in your marketing." Trevor squinted. "I am not sure where that came from public record," she said. "We all have it now." More papers began to circulate. A full printout of the USPTO listing along with the reversion clause in plain language. Someone had emailed it to the room. No one looked at the stage anymore. They were reading, sharing, connecting the dots. That code, that system, that wasn't Cardinal's, it was hers. Vanessa wasn't in the room, but her name was everywhere. On the documents, in the code, etched into the very DNA of the company Trevor had claimed to lead. One exec whispered to another, "Did you know she was gone?" "No," the reply came. "Wasn't even on the last staffing report." By the time Trevor tried to salvage it, rambling about roadmap transparency and new partnerships, I had already left the back row. Quietly, deliberately, the demo was dead. The silence louder than any failure they'd planned for, and no one noticed the absence of applause. They noticed mine. The emergency board meeting was called under the euphemism of strategic review. That's how you know it's bad. No donuts, no agenda slides, just suits and panic in recycled air. The room was smaller than you'd expect for a billion-dollar company. Frosted glass walls, polished oak table that still had a water ring from a champagne toast 3 quarters ago. 12 chairs filled with people who hadn't touched code in 20 years but held more power than any engineer ever would. Trevor was already there when the board filed in. Tie loose, collar damp, his laptop open, fingers twitching over the keyboard like a man who thought maybe, just maybe, he could PowerPoint his way out of this. He couldn't. The general counsel stood at the head of the table, a single page in hand. She didn't sit, didn't soften, just read. Per Section 9, Subclause D of the original IP provisional assignment, upon involuntary termination without cause, full ownership rights shall revert to the original filer of record within 24 hours of formal notice. She looked up. The formal notice of termination was filed electronically by HR at 4:03 p.m. Monday. Reversion was processed by the USO at 4:07 p.m. Tuesday. She laid the page on the table. Nobody touched it. Trevor leaned forward, tried to smile. Let me clarify. This wasn't some hostile firing. It was a performance issue. Vanessa didn't adapt to modern processes. She was disengaged, low energy. The team needed new direction. The room remained still, just the soft hum of the HVAC. Julian was the last to speak. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't even look directly at Trevor, just stared out the window as he said, "You fired the architect of our entire product line." Without a legal transfer in place, it wasn't a question. Trevor opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. He was sweating now, not the nervous kind, the kind that comes from realizing the ground under you isn't ground at all. It's quicksand. One of the board members, a silver-haired man from Capital Markets, spoke next. Did anyone in legal flag this clause before termination? The GC didn't flinch. No one asked us to review the original filings. We were not looped in on her departure. Julian, turn now. Full attention on Trevor. So you didn't just fire her. A pause. You hid it. Trevor's hands spread out in front of him like a man trying to explain away a househer he started with scented candles and ego. The board approved the reorg. The board, Julian said, cutting him off, proved a strategic realignment, not the elimination of the company's legal claim to its only proprietary product. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was dense, thick with realization, with consequence. Vanessa wasn't there, didn't need to be. Her presence filled the room anyway. In every contract clause, in every updated filing, in every NDA they now had to comb through to figure out just how deep this screw-up went. One of the newer board members, woman who joined post-Series D, flipped through the printed patent packet and muttered, "She never even transferred it." "No," said the GC. "She let us use it under a temporary license." Good faith. And now, the GC looked up. "We're in violation." "Jesus," someone whispered. Trevor wiped his forehead. His one script shirt clung to him now. "Okay, but look, we can fix this. We'll negotiate, we'll offer her a comp package, some equity. She'll come around." Julian's eyes narrowed. "You think this is about money?" Trevor blinked. "This isn't about money," Julian said. "This is about respect, legacy, control. She was the product, and now she owns it again because you didn't understand what she was worth." No one dared reply. Trevor looked around the room, searching for support. All he found were eyes turned downward. The CFO took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose like he was calculating how many zeros would be in the damages estimate. The GC collected the documents. "Unless Miss Holt voluntarily returns rights, we can't use the core system. Not in demo, not in production, not in R&D. Another board member spoke. "So, what can we use?" Trevor tried to speak. No one let him. And from somewhere beyond the walls of that meeting room, Vanessa sat quietly in her home office, sipping from a chipped mug, watching the sunrise burn over the skyline. She didn't need to be there, she was already everywhere. I woke up to the kind of silence that only happens after something has exploded. The sun was barely up. A sliver of pale light pushing through the blinds, casting bars across the ceiling like I was in a holding cell. My phone lay face down on the nightstand, vibrating so hard it nearly fell off. When I turned it over, I didn't see the lock screen, just numbers. 243 missed calls. It didn't even show names anymore, just more. The notification bar was a massacre. Voicemails, texts, Slack pings from inactive accounts. 2 urgent emails flagged from Cardinal Legal. A DM from Nina that just said, "Holy shit," and one from Julian. I scrolled for a moment, didn't open a thing, then like I was brushing a speck of dust from my shoulder, I pressed call back on the most recent missed call from Julian Vance. He picked up on the first ring. No greeting, just raw sandpaper panic. "Why does the USTO list you as the owner?" I took a sip of my lukewarm coffee, stretched out on the couch. Cat nestled behind my knees. "Because it always did," I said evenly. "I just let you use it." Silence, then quieter. "Vanessa, what do you want? Not, can we fix this? Not, how do we walk it back? Not even, I'm sorry." He already knew none of that mattered anymore. I didn't answer him on the phone. I didn't need to. 10 minutes later, I sent an email. The subject line was one word, terms. Inside was a bullet point list. Calm, surgical, no legalese, no filler. Full buyout rights for Cardinal Systems to Relic patent hash 798643222. 8-figure royalty agreement retroactive to the date of termination. Seat on the board with voting privileges non-negotiable. I ended it with a single sentence. This is not revenge, this is realignment. And then I hit send. No signature, no warmth, just truth. Julian didn't reply immediately. I didn't expect him to. He was likely still in the boardroom trying to explain to investors why the woman they erased from the company now held every card in the deck. Why the next product cycle, the demos, the funding rounds, the pending government contracts now rested on one name, mine, burned into the USO database and the collective memory of every exec who underestimated me. I wasn't looking for my job back. I didn't want to sit at the same desk, sip from the same mug, smile politely at the same people who stood silent while Trevor handed me a folder and a dismissal smile. I wanted leverage. I wanted presence. Not at the kids' table anymore, not as Vanessa in R&D, as Vanessa L. Holt, owner. 3 hours later, my terms were accepted. All of them. I didn't reply right away. Let them sweat. Let them think I might change my mind. Then I sent a simple follow-up. I'll need a fresh badge. And my nameplate returned. You'll find it in Trevor's desk drawer, second one down. He never threw it away. Just hid it that night. I poured a double and sat by the window while the emails rolled in. Lawyers, licensing agents, HR scrambling to word their gravel in compliant, safe language. The silence ID felt the moment I closed that laptop. It was back. But this time, it was mine. I didn't need applause. I didn't need revenge porn or LinkedIn posts bragging about resilience. I got what I came for. Respect, equity, a seat at the table, and a legally binding reminder carved into federal record that when you fire the architect, you better check who owns the blueprints. Because some of us don't burn bridges, we build new cities, and we charge